At around 3 a.m., Nisha got out of bed, walked straight to the window, and stood perfectly rigid, staring out into the absolute darkness. Rahul is standing in his dimly lit kitchen, staring at his wife. She has her back to him, completely silent. But in his hand, his cell phone is ringing with an active call. He answers it and hears his wife's voice, terrified, crying, telling him she's trapped out on the highway. To understand how he walked into this trap, we must look at the 3 days prior. Rahul and Nisha were newly married through an arranged setup. Seeking a quiet start, they relocated from the bustling city of Nagpur to an isolated, aging house in a remote village. This diagram illustrates the behavior of the Chalawa. In South Asian folklore, a Chalawa is a shape-shifting entity that hunts by adopting the exact physical form and mannerisms of someone its target already loves and trusts. A Chalawa attack operates through a highly structured, multi-phase psychological hunt. The entity systematically isolates its target, primes them with fear, and then executes a lethal misdirection. Defeating an entity that wears your spouse's face means you have to recognize its patterns early. You have to decode its playbook before it successfully hijacks your reality. The first phase of this hunt relies entirely on geography. By moving into a cheap, aging home far removed from their support networks in Nagpur, Rahul and Nisha inadvertently handed the entity the exact physical isolation it needed to operate. The priming phase began on their second night in the house. At around 3 a.m., Nisha got out of bed, walked straight to the window, and stood perfectly rigid, staring out into the absolute darkness. When Rahul asked what she was looking at, she replied in a flat, monotone voice, "He is calling me." The next morning, she woke up with complete amnesia regarding the entire event. This nighttime trance functions as an initial probing tactic. The entity exploits the fuzzy boundary between sleep and waking to measure the couple's psychological vulnerability and see how easily their environment can be manipulated. These night terrors serve as calculated stress tests. The Chalawa wears down their mental defenses, ensuring that both targets are sufficiently destabilized for the impending identity theft. By the evening of the third day, the entity escalated its timeline. Rahul returned from work to find the house completely silent, and Nisha standing in the kitchen with her back turned, entirely unresponsive to his voice. When he approached, she finally turned around, and for a fraction of a second, the mimicry glitched. Her eyes appeared dead and alien, before seamlessly snapping back to normal as she offered a cheerful greeting. Then came the trigger event that shattered the illusion. Rahul's phone rang. On the other end was Nisha's voice, frantic and crying, claiming she was out on the highway and someone was following her. At that exact moment, the figure in the kitchen intentionally dropped its disguise. Its smile stretched unnaturally wide, its eyes turned entirely black, and it spoke in a deep, layered voice, mocking Rahul that he would never truly recognize it. Confronted with a monster in his home and his wife allegedly screaming on the phone, Rahul went into immediate flight response. He sprinted out of the house, jumped into his car, and sped blindly into the night toward the highway. Notice the mechanics of this encounter. The entity dropped its disguise in the kitchen as a deliberate shot, shivering and terrified. He quickly pulled her into the safety of his car. She embraced him, whispering that the nightmare was finally over. The intense rush of relief caused Rahul's guard to drop completely. As they began the drive back, Rahul glanced into the rearview mirror and saw a shadowy figure sitting in the back seat. When he whipped around, the seat was empty. He slowly turned his attention back to the passenger seat. Nisha was sitting there, smiling at him, but her eyes were completely, solidly black. This logic tree maps out the entity's masterstroke. Rahul assumed the monster was in the kitchen, and the real Nisha was on the phone. By inverting the branches, we see the actual trap. The Chalawa was the voice on the phone. The real Nisha had been standing in the kitchen the entire time, and Rahul had abandoned her to drive off with the entity. The car engine died, the headlights cut out, and in the absolute darkness of the cabin, multiple layered voices whispered, "Now you are mine." The Chalawa relies entirely on psychological manipulation to succeed. By the time you realize the person sitting next to you isn't who they claim to be, the trap has already closed.
For more such unique and heart-wrenching scary stories and videos, join our YouTube channel, AV Dark Verse.